We are live.
Good morning and welcome all. It's my pleasure to call to order the meeting of the Connecticut Board of Regents for Higher Education for this date, September the 23rd of 2021, virtually once again. We'll start by asking the Assistant Secretary to call the roll.
Chair Fleury.
Here.
Regent Harris. I see you. Regent Harris.
Here.
Thank you. Regent Balducci.
Here.
Thank you. Regent Budd.
Here.
Regent Gray Kemp.
Here.
Regent Howery. Regent Jimenez.
I'm here.
Regent Porth.
Here.
Regent Ryan. Regent Santiago. Absence is noted. Regent Wright.
Here.
Professor Blitz.
Here.
Professor Sasanker.
Here.
Interim Commissioner Bartolomeo.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Giuttani. Absence is noted. Commissioner Lehman. Absence is noted. Commissioner Designate Russell Tucker. Absence is noted. And Kelly Marie Valieres.
Here.
Thank you. Chair Fleury, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Appreciate that, and good morning to everyone once again. We're going to introduce some of our newer faces along the way, but welcome to all of you, whether we're seeing you on screen or just seeing your names on screen. We congratulate you on your new or not so new roles and welcome you to this conversation. We look forward to our work together with you. And to the familiar faces, it's nice to see yours again as well. I wanted to say that as Pam read the rule, a few names were not read and a few names may be new. In late July, we were notified by the governor's office that they had appointed Richard Porth to this board. And Rick is with us, known to many of us for his work in municipal government, in nonprofits, in social justice, through much of that work. Immensely thoughtful and caring and invested individual in our state and our community for many years. And we're really grateful, Rick, that you've seen fit to accept your appointment to this board. And we look forward very much to working with you and know that you'll bring all that experience and mission work to bear in our endeavors together here. Rick is the good news. The not so good news is that while she is here today, she won't be here much longer. Our dear friend, long-serving regent and public servant, Naomi Cohen, we're going to miss very much, having served from the beginning of the Board of Regents, now 12 years. And Naomi, I'm sorry to say we're going to fuss over you just a little bit here. So brace yourself. Try not to interrupt us, and just be your usual gracious self. But Naomi, we're really going to be very, very sorry to lose you. Your work and the time commitment and the skillfulness and thoughtfulness you've brought to it is extraordinary. And we do have a resolution for the board to consider. And out of respect for your service here, I do think it's fair to ask that we give it the time to have it read into the record. So our Vice Chair, Merle Harris, has agreed to do that.
Thank you very much. I can't say it gives me great pleasure to do this because, as you said, Matt, we are going to all miss Naomi very, very much and her service to the board. And I am going to deeply miss working with her. But that said, I will read the resolution and then ask for a motion. Whereas Naomi K. Cohen has served with distinction as a member of the Board of Regents for Higher Education since December 2011, and has been a member of the board Academic and Student Affairs Committee, Executive Committee, and Human Resource and Administration Committee, of which she was the chair. And whereas Regent Cohn has dedicated her life to serving students in numerous educational leadership positions, including 4 years as House Chair of the Connecticut General Assembly's Education Committee, while she was a state representative from 1983 to 1993. As Vice Chair of the Education Commission of the States. As a public member represented Connecticut on the Board of Trustees of the New England Association of Schools and Colleges, and as Vice Chair of the Bloomfield Board of Education. And whereas she has served as a tireless advocate for Connecticut students and families by promoting greater access to higher education and degree completion. Whereas she champions stronger sexual assault policies on all college campuses. Whereas Regent Cohn, editorial red pen in hand, has been instrumental in the creation of CSCU's job classification systems, the Board of Regents Code of Conduct, hiring procedures, and job search processes. And whereas she is the advocate and author of many friendly amendments, Regent Cohn ensured that sound, well-crafted, meticulously detailed policy has led to sound practice. And whereas Regent Cohn completed her term of service to the Board of Regents for Higher Education on June 30th, 2021, now let it be resolved that the Board of Regents for Higher Education, together with CSCU System President Terrence Chang, note the bittersweet end to Regent Cohn's tenure as our smart, thorough, and humorous wordsmith. And let it be resolved that we, the members of the Board of Regents for Higher Education, thank Regent Cohn for her service and contributions to higher education, and wish her and her family happiness and fulfillment as she leaves the board and continues to work on endeavors that improve life for others. I move the motion on the resolution. Chair Fleury?
Second.
Second.
Moved
Second.
Second.
and seconded. Thank you. And I know there's going to be a contest to be on the record on that one. So I'll let the secretary sort that one out. But thank you for the beautiful resolution. Any comments or discussion before we vote it?
I would like to make a comment. Naomi and I go back, as I look around at those folks on the screen, some of you weren't born when we began working together. She was an outstanding chairman and legislator. The education department and our schools around the state, both higher ed and lower education, benefited from her as chairman of the committee. I was very proud to be associated with her and to have worked with her over the years. And when we both became members of this board, I took a great deal in pride, and I was excited at the fact that I would again be working with someone with the capabilities of Naomi Cohen. She was an outstanding individual as a legislator. She was an outstanding individual as a member of this board, and I'm very proud to have my name associated with her when we talk about positive things. But I'm sure and I will miss her greatly as a member and her wisdom. So with that, Naomi, I would say my best to you, Michael, and the rest of your family, and thank you for serving in both chambers.
Chair Fleury, may I say a few things?
Yes, President Chang.
So I just want to personally thank Regent Cohen for her service, the amount of time, energy, effort that you all put in but today we're celebrating her achievements and her dedication and focus that she has put in throughout these many years. It is, I think you all would agree, it is an inordinate amount of time to serve on a volunteer board such as this, and she has done so not only willingly, but with absolute vigor and aplomb. And, you know, I'm sorry that I won't get a chance to work with her. I've had a few very good spirited conversations with her, and I know that she has helped to shape and really form and direct and guide the system and the board's work for many years. And so I just want to state my real appreciation for all the work she's put in. And I have a feeling that she is not going to go away, that we will still have a very good relationship between her and the system and all the members of the board. So thank you so much, Regent Cohen.
Thank you, President Chang. And I know all of us could remark, but I want to thank you and Regent Balducci, who I think it's fair to say spoke very well on behalf of the sentiments we all share, as did the very beautiful resolution that's before us. If there's no objection, I'd like to ask for a vote on the resolution. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed or abstaining? Well, that's nice to hear. We can agree on that. Regent Cohen, former Regent Cohen, we haven't often been able to excuse you early, but we will, but not without inviting you to say a few words if you'd like to.
Thank you very much. I'd like to say I'm speechless, but you would say, no, that can't be Naomi. So I just would like to say that how lucky I feel that not only have I had the opportunity over the decades to be involved in community service and public policy, but I'm even luckier to have had the opportunity to serve with all of you. When you're as old as I am, you've had many chances to be on many boards, and this board is truly unique. The expertise, the insights, and the dedication that each of you brings to the board. And yet this board is all in the same boat, rowing in the same direction. And that has been just one of the hallmarks of my service on the board. I've had the opportunity, obviously, to work with the staff and with the faculty and with the students, and how lucky CSCU is to have all of them working with you, even if they sometimes don't fit in the boat. I've had the chance to be led by all four of the chair people of the board, and Lou Robinson, Nick D'Onofrio, and Yvette Melendez all kept us going. But I do think, Matt, that there's a special place in heaven for you. I know you are on a cruise that you really didn't sign up for, but you have led the board with grace and with collaborative skills, and always, always, always thinking of the students first. So I guess I would say, if you asked me why I'm so committed to the mission of the system and the board, it's because of something that was said by a student when I attended the 2013 graduation ceremonies at Manchester Community College. And I may have told some of you this story before, but the student was a veteran, and he spoke about his experiences. And I don't remember whether he was in Iraq or Afghanistan, but he was over there. And he talked about one of his jobs was to go from house to house delivering literature to the families so that they would know what the U.S. forces were doing in their neighborhood. And when he got in his house, he realized that the adults could not read. And the 8-year-old was reading the card to the adults. And he said, that's when I knew that education was important to me and important to the whole world. And I have tried to use that to guide my activities and opportunities to be involved on the educational platforms of our state. I'm really lucky that I could do it, and I'm even luckier that I could do it with you. So thank you very much.
Naomi, thank you. And to that end, I'm pleased to tell you that as you've been such a role model and mentor throughout your career, to honor your service to the board and to the cause of education in so many ways, but here in particular, we want to help you continue your influence on others in starting or continuing careers. And we're raising funds for a scholarship that will be awarded in your name. And that since you, like myself and others, proudly completed your undergraduate work at Charter Oak State College, the scholarship will be awarded for the fall 2022 term to a deserving, qualified, promising Charter Oak student dedicated to public service. So I know that the board's already enthusiastically rallying to that. And I know you'll be immensely proud of the achievements of the student that is supported in your name. So thank you and congratulations.
Thank you very much, and count me in as your partner in the scholarship. I'd be happy to participate.
Your generosity is unending. So thank you again. It's been an immense pleasure. I look forward to seeing you again very soon. And I know I speak for all the regents and others in saying so.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I know Pam's going to shut me off. I don't know how to do that.
I'll take
Yeah.
care of it, Naomi.
I think, does Alice have something that she wanted to add to your?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. I just want you to know, Naomi, that there's a present coming to you as well from the staff as soon as we can get it in. And you will not be surprised that it is a lovely red pen set. So that your next activity will get the same love and attention that we all got in our work. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And now I'll let you go.
I'm only sorry, Miss Hubbard, my 8th grade teacher at Jones Junior High wasn't here to see this. She'd have been happy that I listened to her.
He's looking down, Naomi. It's good.
Thank you. Bye-bye. See you
Thank
soon.
you.
I hope.
Thank you. I've seen a lot of red ink in my academic career, but a signature in red from Naomi Cohen would be a wonderful keepsake for all of us. There was reference to some of the other new faces here. I just want to tell everyone a little bit about them. We are welcoming the 2 new ex officio members of the board. Kelly Marie Valeris, welcome. It's great to see you again. And I think you're well known here by many, but should there be those who haven't heard of your work and your relationship to our work here, which is so crucial. She is the vice chair of the Governor's Workforce Council and the chief workforce officer of the newly established Office of Workforce Strategy for the state of Connecticut in the Lamont administration. Her position was added to the Board of Regents by the General Assembly. And she is, I think, going to be uniquely and powerfully able to combine her roles in industry and education to support the educational pathway programs from secondary through post-secondary educational settings, including industry training and development. So we really look forward to your voice in our conversations concerning workforce readiness and talent here in Connecticut in particular. So welcome, Commissioner. It's great to see you.
Thank you.
I don't believe that Dr. Githani is with us today, but I think you may also have read about that appointment, an infectious disease physician at the Yale School of Medicine, appointed by Governor Lamont as the Commissioner of Public Health, taking over the leadership of the Department of Public Health from Dr. Gifford, who we know well, serving through an extraordinarily challenging time. Very effectively and also of great value and support to this board and our administration across the system through the pandemic. So we want to thank Dr. Gifford and welcome Commissioner Githani when we're able to have her with us. And I'm sure the management team level work with her is already well underway. And for that, we're also grateful. Okay, let us now adopt the agenda. May I have a motion on the agenda?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the agenda is approved. I don't have a whole lot to add at this stage of the meeting, except to thank and share information about some leadership changes among our committees. Rick Porth will jump right in and join the Academic and Student Affairs Committee and the Audit Committee. Thank you for taking on double duty right away, Rick. We appreciate it. Regent Ryan is going to shift over from the Audit Committee to join the Human Resources and Administration Committee, where absent Regent Cohen, we need her strength and wisdom, and we appreciate that, Joanne. And I'm really grateful to Holly Howery, who's been a regent here and is also a proud product of our system, for taking on a very important leadership chair, which has been occupied by Regent Cohen for these years as chair of the Human Resources and Administration Committee. So, Holly, I know the passion you have for our work and the skillfulness you'll bring to this aspect of it in that capacity. And I'm also pleased to be welcoming you to the Executive Committee, where we're going to lean on your guidance quite a lot. So thank you to everyone for your flexibility in those assignments and for your prior, in some cases, and forward-going service. We really have been witnessing a fast ramp up by our new president, and it's been really a pleasure to see the energy and vigor that President Cheng is bringing to this system and this work. And we're grateful to him for that. I know we're going to hear from some of the wonderful leaders we have across the system today, and we look forward to that as well. But first, President Cheng, I'd like to give you the opportunity and the floor here to offer your remarks to kick us off.
Chair Fleury, thank you so much. And thank you to all the members of the board. I'm really thrilled to be able to take this opportunity to deliver my first board update as president of the CSCU system. So it's probably going to be a couple minutes longer than what I hope to become the norm. So I hope you'll just bear with me because there's a lot of really wonderful things to talk about, really great news, really great work going on. So we're going to start with the reopening of our campuses. As we enter the second year of pandemic teaching and learning, I have to recognize the work of our incredible staff, our faculty, and the administration for going above and beyond the call of duty these past 18 months to serve the students and the institutions. So much work has happened in public, but also in private, behind closed doors, late hours, weekends. So much work has happened, and I just want to publicly give credit to everyone across all the campus for that work. I want to thank our students. The students have really stuck with us and stuck by us. You students have been equal partners in getting us through this really amazing, challenging time. Your patience, your fortitude, the determination that you've exhibited, it's all been a part of the defining factor in our work. And to the Board of Regents, you've stayed really strong and true this entire time. You've continued to guide the system and give us the support during critical moments since March 20 especially. So as we hope to turn the corner with vaccinations and hopefully the Delta variant begins to subside, I hope that we can all see that this has been a true team effort to get us to this place. All that said, there's reentry anxiety. How could there not be after all we've gone through these past 18 months? Yesterday I sent an update on COVID to the entire CSCU community. I won't rehash all the details, but I will reiterate that we have worked with our campuses and the Department of Health to do everything we can to bring people back safely and securely. We'll be relaunching our COVID dashboards soon so that our system data is transparently available. Right now, I can tell you that 90% of university students have attested to their vaccine status, and 89% have been vaccinated or have been granted a medical exemption. At the colleges, 84% of students have attested, and 83% are vaccinated or have been granted a medical exemption. We've brought back more students to campus while still mitigating the virus through our indoor mask mandate, which is applied to all of our campuses and all of our CSCU buildings, and by utilizing 3 feet of social distancing in most of our classrooms. 8%, or roughly 2,100 students at the universities, and 14%, or approximately 5,400 students at the colleges, have been granted non-medical exemptions. They are required by policy to be tested weekly. The system also negotiated an agreement with our unions to require vaccines for all of our employees. The vaccine attestations are coming in from employees, but testing is already underway, and more data is going to be available in the coming weeks on employee compliance. But we are enforcing rules with students and employees, and there are consequences imposed for those who are not in compliance. Okay, so beyond COVID and reopening, I want to tell you that I've really enjoyed working with the presidents and the CEOs and their teams so far. For me, it's a big learning curve getting to know them and their campuses so that we here in the system office can continue to provide as much support as possible. We've also been working together on cultivating strategic goals and direction for our campuses and the system. So since reopening, I've had the chance to personally visit more than a few campuses. With the majority of classes across the system and campus services being offered in person, I mean, I'll tell you, it's been a real thrill just to be on campuses and to be around faculty, to be around staff and students again. For me personally, I lost 2 graduation years at my previous institution. I lost the ability, as we all did, to be a part of that lifeblood of what we do, the building community, having that collaboration, and just being infused with the vitality of new possibilities. Still, we face a lot of challenges. Despite our best efforts, enrollment across the system has not bounced back to pre-pandemic levels. Universities are down nearly 9% since 2020, and the colleges are down approximately 6% this year compared to last. Charter Oak State College has fared better through the pandemic, and hopefully we'll have a strong enrollment year this year. All that said, I'm really heartened by the passion and the commitment of our faculty, our staff, our students, and our campus and system leaders. So I know that we're only going to continue to improve. Other initiatives that are moving forward include the Systems Equity Council. This was originally charged last year by Interim President Dr. Jane Gates, who continues to serve as our system provost. And so I was happy to recharge the council this year, again under the leadership of Dr. Kimberly James from Tunxus Community College. I've asked Dr. James and the council to partner with Human Resources, Student Affairs, Academic Affairs, and other units across all of our campuses to investigate ways we can advance equity and social justice, not just for our students, but for our employees as well. This is really heavy work, but Dr. James and the council are certainly up for it. I'm also happy to tell you that the work of creating one college, CT State Community College, is moving ahead. Faculty and staff from our 12 colleges continue to inform and help shape the structure and direction of CT State. And in spring of 2022, we will submit our substantive change report to NECHI, our accrediting body. We are confident that CT State will increase access and equity, improve student outcomes, and help stabilize the financial situation for the college. Speaking with many of our elected officials, community leaders, and business leaders, it's clear to me that CSCU is a highly valued and respected pillar of the state. Because of CSCU and the work that all of you do every single day, thousands of students enter the workforce and help industries and communities. So I want to take a moment to thank Governor Lamont for making this a focus and for creating the Governor's Workforce Council, as previously mentioned. The Workforce Council strategic plan is a roadmap for doing this work, and it targets 4 key sectors: manufacturing, healthcare, IT and business services, and life sciences. I'm proud to say that our recent audit of credentials offered across all 17 CSCU institutions shows that we offer nearly 1,000 existing credentials that directly serve these sectors. So thank you, Governor, for supporting us and for believing in us. And thank you to Dr. Kelly Valeris, the head of the newly created Office of Workforce Strategies. And not only are we going to work together here, we're going to be doing a lot of work together between state agencies. So again, we're really committed to it and we look forward to getting that work done. Next week, I begin my official tour visiting all of the campuses. And I look forward to listening and learning, to understanding not just where we are, but where can we go from here? I want to hear people's ideas and concerns and tackle challenges and create solutions together because we're on the same team and we don't always see eye to eye. But I do believe that our respectful, professional, and collegial engagement is going to yield new paradigms that will benefit us all. So let me close with a personal plea that we recommit to an ethos that recognizes who we are as people and what we represent as professionals, and holds us accountable to a high level of ethical comportment, respect, and professionalism. Let us recommit to doing our work in a way that will make our colleagues, mentors, family, friends, and neighbors proud. Because the spirit of our times is strained. There's no doubt about that. Some even condone personal, defamatory, libelous, and out of bounds attacks as legitimate ways of doing business. An example of this, sadly, is a recent op-ed published by a CSCU faculty member comparing our governor and one of our CSCU employees to the criminal acts of known and convicted sexual predators. So I don't begrudge anyone exercising their First Amendment rights, even when I disagree with it or when I find it repugnant, as I do in this case. But if anything, in higher education, we do our best to protect the First Amendment. But this op-ed and other examples of recent behavior exhibited by a small but vociferous sector of our CSCU community have at times purposefully misrepresented facts and have failed to uphold or have even violated the moral and ethical codes of our institutions and our system. This incivility is leagues beneath our expectations as members of the CSCU community, and it's unbecoming of our faculty or any of our employees or students. Common sense and decency would tell us as much. So let's recommit to do better. As an individual, I certainly have my lesser moments. I do what I can to process them and contain them, especially with and before my colleagues and peers, because I know I represent them and serve them, and I work with them and for them. We can have hard, challenging conversations, but we don't have to cross the line to make a point. We are modeling for our students, for our communities, and for the state. We can do better. I know I will do everything I can to help and to improve, and I hope you all will be there with me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, President Chang. We appreciate your update and your remarks and the spirit in which they're offered. I know you have some institutional updates to share, and we look forward to those very much. And so I'd like to turn back to you to ask you to introduce those.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And so one of the things that I felt we could do a better job of, to be quite frank, is to highlight some of the really wonderful work that we are doing across the system on all of our campuses. And who better to let us know what that work is and to represent that work than our campus leaders. And so today we have two of those campus leaders with us, Dr. Dwayne Smith from Housatonic Community College and Dr. Elsa Nunez from Eastern Connecticut State University. And so I'm going to begin with Dr. Smith, if that's okay. I know we have Dr. Nunez going first, but I'd like to start with Dr. Smith, if that's okay. So, Dr. Smith, I think you are queued up with Ms. Helene, and we can begin with you.
Yes, sir. Dr. Pritchard has the PowerPoint, so I'm going to ask if she can show the PowerPoint. Then we'll get started. Thank you so very much. So we do have the PowerPoint. So again, good morning. My name is Dr. Dwayne Smith, and I have the pleasure to serve as the CEO of Housatonic Community College, located in the beautiful city of Bridgeport, Connecticut. Thank you, President Chang, especially to the Board of Regents for allowing me the opportunity to share why it's always a great day to be at Housatonic. Next slide, please. I always begin any presentation with a historical context of my life. This picture here is my childhood home, a condemned-worthy house, but it's where we lived in St. Louis, Missouri. I have this picture in my office as a reminder of how far I have come and to never, ever forget the journey and what is needed to move more of our under-resourced first generation and low wealth scholars to the finish line. I am unapologetic in my belief that everyone can earn a post-secondary credential, and it is everyone's right to these opportunities. Every day, the administration, the faculty, and staff of Housatonic meet the challenges of transforming the lives of our diverse scholars every day. Next slide, please. Housatonic is an amazing place with some amazing individuals that produce success daily. Our current enrollment stands at 3,600, which makes us the 5th largest community college in the system in terms of overall enrollment. With a service, we service 11 town regions, which the largest share of our scholars hail from Bridgeport. We are a diverse campus, perhaps one of the most diverse campuses in the state. We are a Hispanic serving institution with Latinx scholars making up the largest share of our population. Our challenge and opportunity is to increase the female to male ratio. Male scholars make up no more than 34% of our student population. We are in the final stages of bringing on board a men's center coordinator, and we've been collaborating with various diverse organizations such as the African American fraternity Alpha Phi Alpha to provide interactive opportunities for our male scholars. This, coupled with our cadre of guided pathway advisors, will make a difference. Next slide, please. Exceptional faculty and staff make things happen at Housatonic. Our scholars are taught by faculty members and engaged with staff who earn their credentials at some of the top academic institutions in the country: the University of Connecticut, Boston University, NYU, Yale, and Brown universities, to name a few. Certainly, I can speak for all of the 12 community colleges that make up our system that the quality of our faculty and instruction can stack up against any four-year institution. Higher education is affordable, and scholars get much bang for their bucks at Housatonic. Dr. Matthew Dunn, professor of history, was the recipient of the 2021 Board of Regents Teacher Award. Just like many of our faculty and staff, he is actively engaged outside the classroom. Faculty sponsor of the Student Senate and Political Science Club and History Club advisor. It is important for our scholars to experience engagement with our campus community inside and outside of classrooms, since we are a community campus. Next slide, please. Last year, when I arrived at campus after having various internal and external stakeholder meetings and listening to the needs and the aspirations of the community, 3 priorities were established, and we will continue these priorities for the 21-22 academic year. The first one is that HCC will become the benchmark institution in the region, state, and the nation. The second one is that we will focus on forging collaborations and partnerships. And then the third one is a focus on the pursuit of external funding. And I'm so excited today to report some major advances in this area. Next slide, please. In terms of benchmarking, Housatonic has national rankings in various categories according to diverse issues in higher education, a national publication that tracks degree production. We are #1 in the nation in graduating Latinx Hispanic scholars in management information system, #5 in the nation. We rank #5 in the nation in graduating African Americans in MIS. We ranked number 10 in the nation in mental and social health services and allied health professionals of all minority groups. That includes African Americans, Asian Americans, Latinx graduates. We ranked 23 and 28 in the business field for Latinx and African American graduates. This is out of more than 1,000 colleges in the nation. This is an achievement that we should all be proud of. Next slides, please. In terms of our second priority, this year alone, we have forged partnerships and collaboration that truly make a difference. This slide only represents a fraction of the collaboration that Housatonic has. One that we recently developed, which is with the Home of the Brave, a wonderful organization that works with veterans who experience various life challenges. I am proud to share that we have veterans from Homes for the Brave enrolled this fall. Another partnership forges with the workplace at Bridgeport and the Derby School District to offer an advanced manufacturing program to Derby High School students and adult learners in the region. Our campus community partners with Wade Dairy in its weekly food distribution. Every Saturday since the pandemic, thousands of boxes of food is distributed, and the Housatonic community is there volunteering and assisting. A partnership with Stop and Shop created Housatonic's food pantry. Not only can our scholars stock up on food, they are food insecure, but Stop and Shop contributed $1,000 of gift cards so our scholars can purchase other items that are necessary, such as diapers and hygiene products. We make a difference. We are proud of our partnerships with other community colleges in the system, as well as other higher education institutions. Our scholars transfer to more than 100 higher education institutions yearly, and we want to increase those opportunities. Next slide, please. Our third priority of seeking external funding is being manifested in a major way. Philanthropist and CEO Peter Worth gifted Housatonic with $1 million to establish the Worth Entrepreneurship and Innovationship. This is pictures from just a couple of days ago. As you can see, we are so excited. I might add that this $1 million did not come from his foundation. It came from his personal funds. And we are so excited about it. In addition, early in the year, Mr. Worth gifted Housatonic with $500,000 to and create an endowment for the Housatonic Art Gallery. These are it's tremendous gifts, and we're so grateful. There are other individuals and organizations that have given to Housatonic this past year, including the Hearst Foundation to help fund our FEST 2.0 program, M&T Bank, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Bigelow Tea, to name a few. They believe in the vision of transforming lives through education, and we, again, are so appreciative. Our team of faculty and staff work tirelessly to bring in external funding to the campus through grants. Housatonic is fortunate to have the support of the local, state, and national elected leaders. One such collaborative effort is with Congressman Jim Hines' office. He and his team visited Housatonic early in the year and toured our Advanced Manufacturing Center. As a result, he sponsored a $1 billion proposal submitted by Housatonic to strengthen and expand our Advanced Manufacturing Center. It is tucked away in the $3.5 trillion budget that Congress is debating. So we are hopeful that everything will come to pass and that we will have $1 million because it will make a difference in the region and the state. Our team is also working on a $1.5 million proposal to submit to the National Science Foundation to increase the number of underrepresented groups that transfer to four-year institutions in STEM. This grant is in collaboration with Gateway Community College, Norwalk Community College, which makes up the great Shoreline West region under the leadership of Dr. Coley. Next slide, please. The Equity Project is one that's dear to my heart. I'm excited about this excellent project that has the potential to transform Housatonic in so many ways. The HCC Foundation, in partnership with Housatonic Community College, launched this project last year to increase access to opportunities and economic mobility to our underserved and underrepresented scholars. I believe in setting the example, and so I've committed $10,000 of my personal funds to the Equity Project. This is a challenge for me because you all know our salaries as CEOs, and I have college tuition to pay. I have another daughter who's starting college next year and other endeavors I support, but I believe in this project. I know the right type of support to our scholars will make a big difference on their achievement. And this project has taken off in a tremendous way. There are so many people who have contributed to this project, and we're just excited about, again, providing opportunities for our students. Next slide, please. So as I close, I would be remiss that through all the great things that are happening at Housatonic, we have some challenges, some deep, sobering challenges as well. Gun violence is on the rise in communities across the country, and communities in Connecticut are not immune. Less than 2 months when I took the helm of this institution, that we lost one of our scholars due to gun violence. Carla Menendez tragically lost her life on August 31st, 2020. She was well thought of at Housatonic, and she was murdered as she slept in her bed. She was not the intended target, but she was murdered. Next slide, please. Almost a year to the day, we lost another scholar to senseless violence. Jamel D. Hayden lost his life just last month, August 28th. A 16-year-old was just recently apprehended. A 16-year-old was apprehended, and he's on $1 million bond. And so at Jamal's memorial service, many of the speakers spoke and shared how he wanted to make a change in his life and how getting accepted into Housatonic was one of the proudest moments for him and also for his mother. Tragedies such as this remind me that we have serious work ahead and that Housatonic, as well as our sister institutions, must be proactive in being the change agent for individuals seeking a better way, but provide mechanisms and opportunities to transform communities. Next slide, please. So I do want to end on a high note, and this is certainly a good news story. Brandon DeGostino, he is a prime example of HCC's mantra of staying close and going forward. Brandon joined HCC in the spring of 2015 and was awarded an AS engineering science degree in December of 16. He transferred to UConn seamlessly under our agreement as part of the College of Technology, earning a BS with a dual major in electrical engineering and computer engineering. He is currently completing his MS degree in electrical and computer engineering at UConn. And get this, he will begin his PhD studies in electrical engineering at Stanford University in the winter of 2022, next spring. He was awarded the Stanford Graduate Fellowship and a National Science Foundation Graduate Fellowship, the highest award given to a grad student. So if you look at the list of those individuals who received this award that Brandon received, they are Nobel Prize winners. So he's in great company. This scholar, he will do amazing things, but he got his start at the community college, Housatonic Community College. And then my last slide here is just an invitation. Basically, student engagement is key, and we're proud to host Housatonic's first ever convocation rite of passage. This ceremony will be inspirational and help our scholars to understand their purpose and to let them know that Housatonic Community College is behind them 100%. Thank you so very much for this opportunity to share. And this concludes my report.
Thank you so much, Dr. Smith. So I have remarks I would like to make, but I'm going to hold them until after Dr. Nunez. And Chair Fleury, if it's okay with you, I would like to invite members of the board to be able to ask questions or make comments to our university president and CEO as well at the conclusion of their presentations. Thank you for that. So without further ado, let me introduce Dr. Elsa Nunez. She is the fearless, bold, warm, charming, caring president of Eastern Connecticut State University. She has led the institution for, is it 16 years, Dr. Nunez? 16 years. And she's done an amazing job. The university literally would not be what it is without her. And so, Dr. Nunez, please, the floor is yours.
Well, one of your qualities is you're such a generous person. Thank you for that introduction. I would like to thank Chairman Fleury and President Chen for giving me this opportunity to speak with the board today. Equity, diversity, and inclusion is one of the Board of Regents' most important goals. I remember when you debated it day after day, meeting after meeting. One that all 4 state universities take very seriously. Therefore, this morning, I would like to focus my brief remarks today on Eastern's commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion. Inclusion is one of our core values at Eastern, and it is embedded in our mission as Connecticut's only public liberal arts university. We are proud that we are a public university dedicated to educating students from all backgrounds preparing students for careers that help build Connecticut's economy. As a liberal arts institution, we continue a tradition begun in this country by Harvard University in 1636. We firmly believe that a well-rounded education provides the critical skills our students need to prepare for rewarding careers and satisfying personal lives as engaged citizens of this great nation. Fortune 500 company executives are also unanimous in their belief that a liberally educated person is critical in their workforce. How do university presidents demonstrate to this board that equity, diversity, and inclusion are living, evolving values practiced daily on their campuses? First, at Eastern, we begin by honoring our history. Equity and inclusion are values that have been celebrated throughout our history. In 1908, we graduated our first African-American school teachers. When Juliet Busterman was hired in 1948, she became the first African-American professor in New England. In 1988, David Carter became the first African-American president of a four-year institution in New England. And I was honored to be the first Hispanic university president in New England. These moments in history have set a standard at Eastern and inspire us every day. Second, we practice equity, diversity, and inclusion at Eastern by respecting place. Eastern has been an active member of the Willimantic community since our beginnings in 1889. Our town-gown relationship today could not be stronger. I'm very proud of it, because we respect the community in which we live. A university president has the responsibility to expose students to diverse perspectives and cultures. Eastern students begin learning about Willimantic's diversity the first day of orientation when they walk down High Street to downtown. We take them down there by their hand. They find that Willimantic is a special college town that offers students a unique outlook on multiple cultures, religions, and lifestyles. Our students volunteer and intern in organizations across town and gain valuable firsthand experience in the process. For instance, and I'm very proud of this partnership with the Willimantic Police Department, our social work interns accompany police officers on nonviolent calls to provide resources for the police department because they don't have them. It's a faculty-created program, unique in Connecticut and a national model today. Through the Center of Community Engagement, students tutor literally thousands of school children. They organize arts and crafts in senior centers, support nonprofits with advanced technology, and provide needed services to other groups. Additionally, at the center of our work, we also meet our equity, diversity, and inclusion goals through academic excellence. Equity at Eastern begins with the faculty. Our committed faculty provide the support, role modeling, and mentoring that many of our students need to be successful. For all our students, but especially our students of color, it is so important to learn from faculty who reflect the world in which we live. Eastern, as you know, has the highest percentage of minority faculty in all of Connecticut. As Connecticut's only public liberal arts university, our academic foundation is our liberal arts core. At Eastern, students from diverse backgrounds gain the liberal arts skills. That's critical thinking, quantitative reasoning, problem solving, and written and oral communication that prepare them for rewarding and ever-evolving careers. Eastern students learn to be responsible citizens of the world, understanding and embracing diverse cultures. They also are exposed to diverse ideas, which teach them to be open-minded about new perspectives and to think critically about new information that they receive, but especially and particularly ideas with which they disagree. These competencies are taught in our classrooms, but more importantly, they're reinforced through clubs and other co-curricular activities and during community service projects that address the needs of the Willimantic people and the state of Connecticut. And unlike general education requirements at other institutions, which relegate the students' studies of the liberal arts to the first and second year, our students engage in the study of the liberal arts through our liberal arts core for 4 years. Our commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion extends to our majors. One great example is our theater program. A recent production, Blood at the Root, was written by an African-American playwright, performed by a diverse group of Eastern students, and highlighted a famous case of racial tension at a high school in Louisiana. Finally, we practice equity and diversity inclusion on our campus through our culture. When I think of Eastern's culture, the first word that comes to mind is collaborative. It takes our faculty and staff working together to have the success that Eastern has had. We teach our students that same commitment to working together on class assignments and clubs and our sports team is critical to their success. Our Unity Ring is physical space in the student center, and it's unique in bringing together our International Center, Intercultural Center, Women's Center, and the Pride Center as a unifying living symbol in that building of collaboration on our campus. We want everyone, regardless of background or lifestyle, to feel part of our inclusive campus culture. I want to close with a story that especially illustrates Eastern's commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion. In 2012, I received an email from Educational Trust, a renowned national research organization. I read the email twice, since I thought it was sent to me incorrectly or that it was spam. I proceeded then to call the head of Educational Trust to question the content of the email. He said it wasn't spam. He said it wasn't incorrectly sent to me. It was true. Eastern ranked #1 in the country in the national study in graduating Hispanic students and ranked #8 in the country in graduating Black students from college. These were students who had spunk and grit, but no plans or opportunity to attend college. Kids from tough neighborhoods from which they struggled to escape. They lived on our campus, had faculty mentors, held campus jobs, and ended up graduating from Eastern at 3 times the rate of other Hartford High School students. The success of our program and our faculty's commitment to providing personal attention and a quality academic experience came to the attention of Donald Graham. You know who he is, the former publisher of the Washington Post. His foundation, the Dream.us, chose Eastern as one of the 2 universities in the country to place his program for undocumented students. Why? Because those students were from lockout states, and he felt if they were at Eastern, they would be safe, taken care of, and that they would get a quality education. Today, Eastern is the largest partner of the Dream US Foundation's programs, and the students in the program have a 97% four-year graduation rate, the same as Harvard University. What is especially heartwarming to me as president is the leadership that these young people have shown. Last year, the officers in the student government were all from the foundation's scholars. They also were the leaders at the Center for Community Engagement, and they were volunteers in all of our community programs. These are tomorrow's leaders. They're going to be doctors, college professors, business leaders, but they'll remember one thing. They started in Connecticut and at Eastern. We are proud of our commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion at Eastern, but we have not sacrificed quality at Eastern to achieve it. And that's a tension that college presidents face all the time. How do you provide access while maintaining quality? So many people say it can't be done, and I'm here to tell you that it can be. Just last week, the annual U.S. News and World Report rankings came out. We are the number one ranked public regional university in New England for the 3rd straight year. We were #1 in the veterans programs that we provide, #1 in New England. But one of the most important markers from U.S. News and World Report was that we learned that we were #1 ranked public regional university in the best value category. That doesn't mean we were the cheapest, because we're more expensive than the other 3 state universities. We're the most expensive of all 4. U.S. News and World Report takes all the variables that are markers for academic excellence and compares them to price point. This algorithm yields the value proposition. Thus, Eastern is #1 in New England in the best value category. That's academic excellence with access. These days, the ability to afford college is a barrier for so many Connecticut families. The new rankings demonstrate that our commitment to expanding educational access to students from all backgrounds is working while at the same time we are making sure that education they receive is second to none. Eastern is elite, but we are not elitist. Equity, diversity, inclusion is in our history, it's in our mission, it's in our culture, and it's in our DNA. A president of an American university today must lead with integrity in matters of equity, diversity, and inclusion. At Eastern, we have done this by honoring our history, respecting the community in which we live, achieving great academic excellence, and practicing a collaborative culture with respect, as President Chen said, where everyone is respected and valued. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nunez. So I have so many notes and comments I want to make, but I know that people have other responsibilities and meetings they need to get to. I'm simply going to say that visiting both of your campuses, Housatonic and Eastern, was a real joy. You all run incredible operations, and thank you for that. Your teams are amazing. The folks on your campuses are amazing. The thing that I see connecting you all and our leaders are the passion, the focus, your identities are distinct, your community engagement, your personal engagement, but ultimately it's all about that student focus on academic outcomes and achievement. You're there to help your folks do what they want and need to do. And, we really just can't thank you enough. And I learned so much, so I'll talk to you both separately on that. Chair Fleury, if I may pass it back to you, and you can invite comments from our other board members, please.
Thank you, and I echo your sentiments and observations about both leaders, both presentations, and both institutions that are reflective of I know, the breadth of our system in many ways, but each in their distinct manner. Are there members of the board who have comments or questions? Okay. I just would comment that we appreciate and value the work. We appreciate the update. We share in your sense of pride in the achievements of your students and the work of those you support. And we also share in your ambition going forward. And I think
Can I ask a question?
Yes, I see Elise. Let me just make sure I've got everybody here and then we can line up. Elise, I think Merle and David each wanted to comment or ask a question. So let's just take it in that order and I'll step aside.
Okay, I just have well, first of all, thank you to thank you both for the presentation. It was very, very informative. This is more of a general question. Both of you talked about sort of the significant successes that you've had. I always believe in, if you have a best practice, just curious if you share some of your successes with your colleagues. I just, in listening to this, I just thought, Elsa, how do we replicate this? How can we ensure that we learn from those leaders or organizations that have been able to, looking at Elsa, sort of you've really captured what DE&I, the possibilities when you do run an organization that considers diversity, equity, and inclusion. And just based on my past experience, that's not easy. People want to do tasks, but they don't understand how you drive the culture. And both of you talked about sort of your successes, in my mind, were driven by your ability to change culture and getting other folks, whether it's faculty and students, to sort of buy into doing things differently. So I'm just generally, I'd be interested in how, it's great that we're hearing it, but I'd love to know how we share the successes with some of the other organizations.
That's such a hard question to answer, because it would take a very long time for you and I over a cup of coffee. Maybe someday can really talk about it. I am very, very optimistic because of President Cheng's presence as our leader, that so many of the things that we want to achieve, that I've struggled to achieve, can be achieved. He's a positive person, a generous person, and generosity is really an important quality in an individual. So I'm grateful to you, the board, for his appointment. I do believe that one of the greatest challenges that we face in the system is financial aid. And that's why when I go to the legislature, I'm permitted to go, I always say, don't give me the money, give it to the students. You know, just increase their financial aid. That is an argument that we need to make, because it doesn't matter what institutions they go to. I really believe that as in our system. Or even if they go to UConn, I don't care, as long as they get a college education, because the #1 barrier to completion at Eastern is financial. And that's really the nut that I've been trying to crack all these years. And the way I've done it is that we're the institution that gives most financial aid. And that's money that I get from tuition that I give back. So this idea of not raising tuition, if you really think about it systematically, if there's a percentage of the tuition that you're giving back in financial aid, and you do the analysis, it is a really compelling argument for why everyone is sharing in the cost of educating everyone that goes to that institution. So the data point that I pointed out, and I'll end with this, 97% graduation rate of all those poor students, those students are the poorest students in the country. They come from Mississippi. They come from, these are Black and Hispanic and, students from the islands. They're not all Hispanic. Those students got a full ride to Eastern. So you can't achieve a 97% graduation rate without better financial aid for our students. And that's at the community colleges as well as the universities.
So I'll jump in there.
Thank you.
So I echo what my colleague stated, particularly about President Chang, that he's open and inviting, and I think he will be a breath of fresh air. I haven't been here that long, but I've been in higher education for 38 years, and it's very refreshing of the collaborative nature of the community college. So to answer your question, in terms of the collaborative nature and how can we share, what you're going to find when you listen to all the other 11 colleges, community colleges, they're going to have fantastic stories. And the wonderful part about the collaboration, we meet on a regular basis. So we meet, we share, we talk about the issues and concerns, and the goal is how do we make this system better. The second piece I'll offer is that Housatonic belongs to the Shoreline West region. And so we collaborate. That's Dr. Terry Brown, who leads Gateway. That's Attorney Cheryl Devanis, who leads Norwalk. And so we meet formally and informally to look at what are the issues, what are the pressing issues, what are the opportunities. And so I would say that collaborative nature allows us to grow stronger. And what you're going to find is that even though we have some unique and novel successes at Housatonic, you're going to find it across the board when you listen to the various campuses.
That's good to hear.
Yes.
Thank you.
I think we had Merle and David.
I just wanted to say thank you to President Chang for providing this opportunity to hear from two of our institutions. And it was interesting. It was a president that I've known for a long time and a president I really haven't met in person because of COVID. And they both brought ideas to the forefront that I think are critical to our system. And I appreciate the fact that we just had an answer to the question of how we make sure that some of the ideas that we hear get shared, across the system. I heard we're doing it, and I encourage that to continue.
David?
Okay, thank you. I think you've addressed, but let me just say that both of you are amazing champions of your institutions, articulate and explaining the history, the current state, the ups and downs, and challenges. And I'm very proud to be a part of the system in our own small way here on the Board of Regents, hearing your respective stories. And I do hope and echo that this is a sort of a turning of the page, and that these community colleges work together and the universities work together to share these best practices, because you both are tremendous leaders. And anything that the Board of Regents can do to further that, I want to hear it. And I know that President Chang will encourage that kind of free flow of communication. We don't hear, frankly, as a regent, since I've been on this board, 2014, from campus leaders and university leaders. I'd like to hear more, and so keep it coming. Thank you.
Regent Jimenez, I just wanted to say that under the president's leadership, the university presidents meet with him regularly, not just occasionally, and we slug it out. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful when we're very different, and we want no micromanaging, as of course we're good leaders. But my colleagues at Western, Central, and Southern are superb leaders they run great institutions, but we're different. And he allows us to talk about those differences. At the same time, we're aware of the importance of being a system and cooperating and collaborating. And I think you'll see more of that.
Thank you all. And I think, President Chang, we look forward to additional such reports, which I know will also be inspired and inspiring. So we look forward to that. But thank you so much for these presentations and updates. We look forward to supporting your work and continue to have your insights in how we can best do that. All right. President Chang, I think you've concluded your remarks, successfully facilitated some wonderful presentations that inspire us all. And now we are going to open the floor to those who have signed up to address the board. I think some do so via a written submission only, others do both. And the ones who do both are the ones we will welcome today. And I'll ask Pam Helene to facilitate this part of our agenda.
Thank you, Chair Fleury. In addition to the 4 presenters we have today, we've received 3 communications from the public, which have been forwarded to the regents in advance of the meeting. And in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act guidelines as amended during the pandemic, the communications were also posted on the CSCU website immediately prior to the meeting start time. And with that precursor, I'd like Alice Pritchard to bring in our first presenter, Dr. Paul Peterson. He's a professor of political science department at Central.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome once again President Chang to the leadership of CSCU. And as he begins his new administration with the board, I encourage you all to embrace the opportunity for a new direction that this presents. More specifically, I encourage all of you to be guided by 2 cardinal values that I really believe are important and have been central to my work as a faculty member and chairperson at CCSU. Listening with respect to all my colleagues and students, and always trusting my colleagues and students with genuine shared governance. Unfortunately, these values and practices have been marginalized or absent in recent days in a variety of interactions, and I urge the board to reset the direction and tone of some of the things that have been going on in recent months based on these principles. You have a strong foundation in all the people who make every part of CCSU, and CSCU run every day. Listening and trust will only strengthen that foundation. I'm reminded of a toast shared at my father's service club meetings. Not above you, not beneath you, always with you. So I urge all of you to take this moment to affirm and practice these values of equality, shared trust in governance, and equal true listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Peterson. And our next presenter is Associate Professor of Art Sabrina Marquez, who is the director of the Kathwari Honors Program at Western Connecticut State University. Sabrina, you may begin. Sabrina, we cannot hear you.
cannot hear me. Hi.
There you are. Okay, thank you. You may
Hello.
begin.
Thank you. I'm here to help the Board of Regents understand and feel what we do every day. There exists a proposal for us to teach more than we already do. I already work more hours than I am contracted to do. At this point, is quantity more important to you? Having us do more is at the expense of quality. The students do matter, and the reason we can retain our students is because we offer a quality education. At Western, I am a Latina Associate Professor of Studio Art and the Director of the Kathwari Honors Program. Teaching is an essential part of being a professor, and this semester I am teaching 130 students in my various undergraduate and graduate courses. I am here because of the reality of teaching, research, service, advising students, obtaining grants, publishing work, creating artwork, giving speeches, mentoring postgraduate students, and overseeing projects that move areas of research and investigation forward. This brings our students cutting-edge knowledge as well as often funding and respect to our campus. I will speak about one area of teaching a course that extends beyond the 2.5 hours seen on the course schedule. I am part of a National Endowment for the Arts project grant my art department was awarded for the Home Project, which funds a year-long artist residency and exhibition for Syrian American artist and architect Mohammed Hafez. Mohammed is working with our students in the course There Is No Place Like Home. I co-teach with anthropology professor Christine Hagel. Students in this class engage in creative expression and autoethnography in conjunction with cross-cultural and comparative analysis of films, artworks, scholarly and fictional, to consider their own and others' affective ties and displacements that manifest through the resident space of home. This course took a year to co-design. Last year, we continuously researched and refined the course. We met throughout the year and in the semester to meet in the summer outside of our 10-month contract. In addition to the many hours to prepare materials for class, grading the assignments, Christine and I have worked to coordinate visiting artists and field trips. Those who do not see the work we do beyond the hours we are physically in the classroom, who think we work part-time hours and are paid full-time salaries. This misconception has a damaging effect on how we as professors are perceived. There are many weeks I am working over 60 hours and I'm not paid overtime. I hope that better understanding the various facets within our profession will shed light on the areas that extend beyond the hours we are seeing teaching in the course schedule. Just looking at that facet misrepresents the complicated work we do as professors, teaching our students, the service contributions we make to our respective fields of study, and the impact our research has on society at large. I hope this sparks conversation within the BOR to create change to mitigate remaining misconceptions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Marquez. Our next presenter is Christine Shapley. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Professor of English at Norwalk Community College. Christine, can you test your audio? Christine?
Good morning.
Okay, great. Thank you. Your 3 minutes may begin. You may begin.
Good morning. I'm Christine Shapley, longtime English professor at Norwalk Community College, and I'm happy to report that students and faculty are thrilled to be back live on campus, though of course the great majority of our classes are still online at Norwalk Community College. We have wonderful students. But I am here today on a more difficult topic, and it happens to overlap with some of President Cheng's earlier remarks today. President Cheng and Chair Fleury, as a feminist, educator, and advocate for students inside the CSCU system, I was appalled by your opinion piece in the September 9th Connecticut Mirror, where you impugn the honesty and chastise Professor Brendan Cunningham of Eastern for his opinion, castigating misogynistic language and behavior from CSCU Head of Human Resources, Andy Kripp, your employee. There is the suggestion that the language and behavior from Andy Kripp can be excused due to the heat of negotiations, a suggestion which is intensely tone deaf and borders on outright misogyny itself. Mr. Kripp should be asked to step away from the negotiating role with the bargaining units. It's shocking and also grotesque that the actual head of human resources for the 17-unit system of higher ed would be so out of touch with current standards of professional behavior to indulge in such clear offenses as described by state employees and also by a lawyer for the system. And on top of this, there was the hostile termination of the female CEO at Manchester, which has led to a federal lawsuit against you. Mr. Cheng and Mr. Fleury, why are you in effect sweeping under the carpet the reported misogynistic offenses of a powerful male inside your organization? Would you do the same for racist or anti-Semitic or homophobic language and behavior from one of your employees in a professional situation? If not, then why is reported misogynistic behavior treated so lightly by you? On a teacherly note, the various pieces, printed opinions, and lawsuit documents linked to all of this add up to a beautiful teachable moment and can serve as texts for a college English 101 essay assignment on gender stereotyping, toxic masculinity, cringe situations, and the still white-hot issues of patriarchy and misogyny. Most college students today would clearly see what is going on here. Mr. Fleury and Mr. Cheng, you were wrong to call Brendan Cunningham's piece dishonest. You owe him an apology, and you owe all of CSCU
Professor
an
Chapley,
apology.
you've exceeded your 3 minutes. Could you wrap up quickly, please?
You owe all an apology, especially all women of the system. Misogynism inside CSCU from managers will not stand. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next presenter is Seth Freeman, President of 4Cs. Seth, can you check your audio for me, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Your 3 minutes may begin.
Thank you. I'm happy to address the board today. My name is Seth Freeman, professor at Capital Community College and president of the 4Cs, one of our unions representing faculty and staff within the community college system. I'm here to, I provide a written statement. I hope everyone on the board has a chance to read through the written statement that provides some details to the critiques of this board from the community college employees. The resounding perspective of the community college employee across our system is that this board should be ashamed of yourself for your recent behavior and for the way that you've basically denigrated and disrespected community college employees over the past 5 years. You know, we understand in the written statement I provided, I lay out some recent examples. Vice President Andy Cribb telling academic deans how to manage faculty, basically treating faculty and academic deans as second class. CSCU managers ignoring and disregarding staff during reorganization. Just yesterday, I met with financial aid leaders across our system who were completely disregarded and ignored as you developed your new financial aid job descriptions, completely disregarded and ignored. And so they come to our union and ask why, and I don't have an answer for them. So you know, that's just one example. This is happening time and time again. Same thing happened with counselors and other areas. The telework hypocrisy policy, CSU managers today are teleworking from home, but in the most grotesque hypocrisy one could imagine, you're not allowing your employees to telework. That's who this board is. The culture of misogyny in the CSU system, my peer Chris Japley just said everything that has to be said. It's disgusting. But this is what happens with the culture with no accountability. So it's not surprising. And we call on Governor Lamont. Where is Governor Lamont as all this is happening? Really, where is Governor Lamont? As all this complete lack of accountability is happening. That's where we need to start to direct our attention. And then the last one was the hostile negotiation tactics and union busting, the union busting law firm Jackson Lewis. Our unions, 4Cs, AFT, CSU, AUP, has started a petition to demand that the union busting law firm Jackson Lewis be fired. In what universe is it appropriate for public monies to be directed to a predatory firm like Jackson Lewis that preys on low-income Black and Brown communities? In what universe is that appropriate? In the border regions for higher education, that's where it's appropriate. So we're talking to our communities. What does it mean to have a union busting law firm getting public money in Connecticut? How does that affect our low-income communities? That's a discussion we want to have. And as President Chang comes to our colleges, we look to have that discussion. You know, there's so much in my statement, I don't have time to go through it all. But the big picture is the community college faculty and staff will no longer be the whipping boy of the CSCU system. We demand to be treated with dignity and respect, and we demand a fair contract. And we're not going to beg you for one. We're the ones, not this Board of Regents, that serves our students every day, not this Board of Regents. You're fomenting at the pleasure of your creation of the corporate state college.
Seth, excuse me, you've exceeded your 3 minutes allotted. Could you wrap up very quickly, please?
Certainly. I'll just simply say, we're ready to negotiate. We want a fair contract, but we're not going to beg for one. We're gonna just speak up for ourselves as we have a right to do. But the rest is in the statement. So thank you.
Thank you. Chair Fleury, that finishes our public comment statements.
All right, thank you. Thanks to those who've taken the time to speak, submit comments, and to those whose comments were longer than the time allowed, but were submitted in writing. We have that, and have or will reflect on them in writing. You know, it's difficult to have a wide array of assertions made about the character, intentions, and actions of members of a volunteer board who works very, very hard. And I know personally, in their hearts, along with our management team, are here for the right reasons, trying very, very hard to do the right things. And I know that it has been difficult to refrain from entering kind of the level of vitriol that we tend to find ourselves subjected to. And on my watch, this board will never lower itself to that kind of behavior. That said, I just will say for myself, I take to heart each assertion, accusation, and disparagement, and ask myself when I get up in the morning, just like I think we all do as individuals, parents, public servants, professionals, whether that's really us. And when I look in the mirror, and I think it's fair to say for everyone here, those are not the people we see. But it is fair for us to ask ourselves those questions and for us to be challenged to ask ourselves those questions. And we must do so. And to the extent that causes us to, as President Cheng said at the very outset, you know, ask ourselves how we can do better, we should do that. So it's, I suppose, tempting, perhaps necessary to address point by point assertions. I just don't think I'm going to spend a lot of time doing that here, other than to say, if the suggestion was to have a contract negotiation with seriousness, we have always been about that. We accept that invitation. We have directed from day one our team to enter the discussion in that fashion. And that's where this will get settled, not with theater and histrionics and public relations and various activism, all of which is understandably part of the playbook in these contexts. And we have to be grown-ups and understand that that's, in some respects, customary. I think what hurts us all is that at this point in our time and history as a society, polarization, finger pointing, blame and name calling and accusations are serving nobody but those who trade in the industry of indignance and hate and fighting through the media primarily. And I know that our system doesn't stand for that. That said, pointed comments are appropriate and sometimes painful, but necessary part of the conversation. And we'll try to take on that aspect of it. So I don't know whether we can pivot now to the business of the board.
Chair Fleury,
Yeah.
Regent Gray Kemp has her hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Regent Kemp, please.
Thank you, Chair Fleury. And I appreciate if you'll indulge me for a moment, because while my comments are not at all prepared, they are heartfelt, both in my role as a member on the Special Committee on Collective Bargaining, but as well as the daughter of a single mother post-divorce who is a graduate of a community college, and but for which that education, I would not be in the position professionally, emotionally, and personally that I am today to serve. I started this meeting just buoyed and uplifted by the concrete examples, and I'm scribbling furiously the things that I did not know of the achievements within just two groups in this system. And then in letting that wave of positivity wash over me, affording myself that luxury for a minute, we were snapped back into the reality of your comments regarding bargaining and messages and the price that some of us in the public space pay for doing what we believe is our mission and our privilege. And I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm a big girl, literally and figuratively, who knew generally what she was getting into when she took this mantle to support. But what I do take great umbrage with is the seemingly cavalier treatment of facts, which are really opinions parading as facts, and what used to be a witticism of we can have different opinions, but we can't have different facts, is now becoming conventional wisdom. And I'm going to need, for purposes of my sanity, to go on record to invite everyone who believes that they understand and who are drinking from a cooler of misinformation, whether intentional or not, to look to the record. To look to the record, because it is made in a way and with a transparency that is required by statute and policy to be a record, not an opinion. And similarly, in the negotiations, there is a prescription against communicating the things that are in those negotiations, the conversations that occur, to prevent that poisoning of discourse in which we find ourselves now. Taking fleeting moments, misunderstandings. We may know statements, we are inferring ill intent and making presumptions that are not supported by record. So I'm hoping that those who are hearing me, who are committed to an opinion, will afford themselves not the luxury, but the responsibility of basing those opinions in fact. As it has been said by Professor Nunez, we are facing amazing challenges, being outliers in cost and other operational challenges that mitigate against the very successes that we're able to expound upon in this call and to celebrate. We need every bit of our focus on the state's business and not our own personal performative designs. So with that, I'm going to thank people in advance for not believing what they think from a snapshot, from a picture characterizing us as sheep. That might be disrespectful to sheep where I come from in North Carolina, but to focus on the facts and our collective responsibility to do the nation's business. So thank you for giving me this opportunity top of mind. I know we were taking the high road and saying nothing, but sometimes my GPS loses direction to the high road, and I will meet people where I find them. So with that, thank you, and I will put myself back on mute, but not moot, hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you, Felice. I see Holly has her hand up, and David Jimenez. So why don't we go in that order?
Thank you, Chairman Fleury. Just two small points. In the written remarks submitted by Professor Vandermark, she predicates much of her comment base on the idea that General Counsel Ernestine Weaver conducted an investigation and submitted a memoranda. And in fact, she did not. She was not the person responsible for that. That was done outside of the system office. And so I just wanted to assure Professor Vandermark that that was in fact not the case. And that's not how that happened. And then I wanted to let people know that we take the telework issue seriously, and the HR committee will be taking up a telework proposal for management and confidential employees on our next meeting, October 6th. And I highly encourage the president of the 4Cs, Professor Freeman, to take his proposals to the bargaining table, which is where that sort of work change can be made for union employees. Thank you, Chairman Fleury.
Thank you. David Jimenez?
Thank you, Chairman Fleury. I do want to make a few comments because both in today's public comment session and in the media, there have been a number of accusations leveled against the bargaining process, against my firm, Jackson Lewis, and against me personally. So I just want to, in the spirit of trying to provide accurate information, just make a few comments. It really is unfortunate we live in a time where leadership is pursued by some by way of attacking the so-called other side, or by demonizing or suggesting that a different point of view is the enemy, or perhaps most destructively, by outright spreading misinformation. I am truly at heart an optimist, and I suspect that the vast majority of faculty in the CSCU system know better and know exactly what's happening. And we're a board of regents. We typically don't engage. We typically don't get involved with the gamesmanship and the media hype. But I do want to just take a minute here to talk about the substance rather than all of the noise and misinformation. The fact is that about 80% of the system is unionized, meaning that about 80% of employees in the system are associated with a collective bargaining agreement, or a CBA as we refer to them. And like all contracts, these CBAs have expiration dates and they have to be renewed. There's nothing evil or nefarious about the fact that collective bargaining agreements from time to time have to come up for renewal and renegotiation. Happens all the time. Let me set the record straight. Jackson Lewis does not represent the system in any contract negotiation. Let me be very clear. My firm, of which I'm very proud of, does not represent the system. There is another law firm that does labor relations, and the union is also represented by a law firm that does labor relations. Neither of the law firms involved for either side involve Jackson Lewis. Seth, you better get your facts straight, because I've been with this Board of Regents since 2014. I've been twice nominated by two Democratic union supportive governors. I've been vetted by the State Attorney General's office more than once, not only upon entry, but upon recent ethics complaints filed against me. And I was twice supported in this nomination by the legislature. So we've been completely transparent about the fact that I'm a principal at Jackson Lewis. There's no secret there. But the fact is that these CBAs that are before us for negotiation come up for negotiation at a moment in time that's very different from when they were entered several years ago. We have a changing demographics. We have declining enrollment. We have increases in technology. Oh, and let's not forget about the fact that we are in a post-pandemic environment. The world has literally changed in the last few years. To suggest that we're going to just simply go back into the same kind of CBA terms and conditions without review, without discussion, without some give and take is unrealistic. And I'd submit to you that anyone who says that there shouldn't be any change isn't living in reality. They're distorting the reality. We have an obligation to look at these CBAs from the lens of our students, from the lens of Connecticut taxpayers, and yes, from the lens of our faculty and our employees. We want to achieve student success. We want a system that we can afford and that's efficient and that speaks highly of our state. And that requires dialogue, and it requires respectfully agreeing and disagreeing at times. Not gamesmanship, not media hype, not petitions, but really coming to the table in a productive way to discuss where are we and where are we going. And I hope that going forward under President Chang's leadership, we will see a lot more of that versus these attacks. We're not the enemy. In response to the question of where is the governor appoints a good number of these Board of Regents members. He's present by virtue of these appointments. And other leaders in government appoint a good majority of these Board of Regents. So there is representation on this board of our government leaders. And I hope that you know we are listening. We want to engage in good faith, but we're not going to play games and use the media as scare tactics. Perhaps this begs the question, why do we do it? I don't know the stories of all the Board of Regents, and I hate to make this about me, so I'm going to be very brief here and just simply say to you that I personally am the product of public education and have experienced firsthand how public education can transform a life and move individuals up the socioeconomic scale. I'm in this as a Board of Regent because I support higher education. I support the state of Connecticut. I'm not here because I am pro-union or because I am pro-union busting. That's not the passion that puts me on the Board of Regents. I'm here because I believe in this system. And frankly, when I've had the privilege of attending graduation ceremonies and meeting students, I see myself. It won't surprise you that I see myself in many of our students, the struggle and the potential for success. And that's what I'm all about. And with that, Chairman Flory, thank you for the time. I'll now pass the mic to you.
Okay, thanks. I felt it was important in that you were directly referenced on multiple occasions that you have the opportunity to say something, and that's, I think, appropriate. I do see that the members of the FAC, Dr. Blitz and Dr. Sasenker, have both raised their hands. As always, I'm happy to recognize you. And I think I saw Dr. Blitz first, so why don't you go ahead?
Thank you, Chair Fleury. Are you able to hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. About 14 months ago, at one of the meetings of the board, a member of the board launched the slogan, "Everything's on the table." And at that point, you can go back in the video record of that meeting. I said, I don't think that's a good idea. I think that we shouldn't be discussing principles, even, or for that matter, slogans for negotiation at the board when that's going to be undertaken by the union and the board representation. But I think it's also a bad idea to say everything is on the table as if we are not building from the sort of basis that we saw the community college CEO and the university president present. We have a lot of achievements, and those are in part reflected in some of the guarantees, rights, and responsibilities in those collective agreements. That said, I'm not going to say more about that, but merely to note, I've talked a lot about the need to review and revise, both with respect to students first, and I would say with respect to the initial offers of both sides, both the board and of the unions. It's also clear that we need to repair and rebuild a lack of trust, a lack of confidence that has come about as a result of the very difficult transition involved in Students First, and now complicated by two more things: the collective agreement negotiations, and also, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic. We've never been able to get together and actually meet in the 14 months and more that I've been on this board. And that has an effect also on the kinds of relationships that we can or cannot develop. I think in concluding, I want to say we have a principle that unites us, and that's the principle of preserving and promoting public higher education in the state of Connecticut. That's something that we can build upon, but it's going to be difficult. And I think that the kinds of problems that we're seeing today, which was not unexpected, we've seen this before, those are the issues that we're going to have to address in a collaborative way, based on principles and also on a revised and renewed strategy. We need a new strategy. And I'll conclude at that point.
Thank you, Dr. Blitz. Dr. Sasenker.
Yeah, so I want to say that I was also inspired by the beginning of this meeting, and I think that's a huge improvement that we are hearing directly from our, leadership on different campuses and so on. And yet, of course, the tone of the meeting has changed somewhat. But I want to just really impress upon us that, both things can be true. We can be doing amazing, inspiring things at the same time that the tone that you hear, the downer, is actually the feeling that exists at the places where we are interacting with our students, right? That tone is coming from somewhere, and that somewhere is under this leadership. So we have to take it very, very seriously. I mean, it's not about the discourse or about feeling great in a meeting and then the uninspiring message. It's about policy that shapes higher education in this state. So the stakes are really high. And the folks who are at the front lines of this feel that we're moving in the wrong direction. And that's what you're hearing. You're hearing desperation and anger and stress, because we do want those inspiring stories, and we are afraid that we are forfeiting it. But I do want to, some mention was made about getting the facts straight. There are many different facts that perhaps need to be clarified here, but I do want to just ask for clarification on one very simple point, because it's as easy as a yes or no answer. The claim that I heard from Seth Freeman was not that Jackson Lewis was responsible for contract negotiations, but that he found it inappropriate that the state would be paying money to a firm that is union busting, given the effects that we know, right, of the effects of the unions for the kinds of families that our colleges serve, right? There have been very positive effects. So he found that to be, I think, a bit of a disconnect. So my question is simply this: does the system pay Jackson and Little for services? And I think that's yes or no. I think that would help to establish whether or not those comments were completely misinformed.
I'll field that, and then we'll move on. Thank you, Dr. Sasenker. I believe, because I've asked about the firms which represent the system with regard to bargaining and whether one of those was Jackson Lewis, that the answer to your question is that Jackson Lewis is a firm that has done and will in the future be called upon to do work for the Board of Regents and the CSUS system unless they turn out to be unqualified from doing so. I'm sure you have an opinion on that. But that the initial assertion which has been made and the line that has been continually drawn and pointed at Regent Jimenez with regard to the contract negotiations approach and representation is that they have no role in that. So that is the answer to your question. I think there is a procurement process that I think the state broadly uses to select firms, whether they build things or advise on legal matters, and that's probably the best forum for questions such as that, which I think you're alluding to. I want to just also put one quick point out there, just lest there be any sort of misconception of where the contract terms as proposed under the board's auspices through management come from. They originate in conversations that the system office had quite extensively with administrators across the system from every campus of the system who are dealing with the various realities and objectives that we have. And the contract terms that were proposed by the board originate there, not from, frankly, the board necessarily, which reviewed those through the subcommittee and found them to be appropriate, but leaned heavily on the advice of those who run our campuses and run our system in saying, advance those as your proposal, expect to hear the other side has a different perspective, and work towards the middle. And expect to win some, expect to lose some, as happens in any such negotiation. There's no firm's playbook whatsoever, much less a firm that's not involved in this whatsoever. With that, I'm going to conclude this portion, which certainly is unusual, but clearly there's a lot, that folks felt the need to say. President Chang, I saw your hand raised, so obviously I'd defer to you if you wanted to have the closing word here.
I appreciate that, Chairman Fleury. I just wanted to, and again, I realize we've run long on this meeting for sure, but I do feel that it's important to, respond, not reply, because this is the board's meeting where the board's work must take place. And I think it is appropriate, in my estimation, for the board to respond, especially to certain public commentary and or pieces that are sent into us. But out of respect for the folks who did that today, I want to make sure that as the leader of the system, that I chime in. Dr. Peterson from Central, I appreciate your comments about listening with respect and trust and respecting shared governance. And my position is that shared governance means shared leadership, and that trust and respect are reciprocal. And so I look forward to having that reciprocity within our relationships between the system office and the faculty. Dr. Marquez, your comments gave me a little bit of a stroll down memory lane as a tenure track professor and as an adjunct, and through my academic career, juggling all the things that you juggle. And so I just want to say, absolutely see you, hear you, all the faculty, and I hope that my experience can help and really synergize with the faculty as we move forward, because I've been through it and I understand where you're coming from, and so I really look to be a good partner with the faculty. Professor Japley, a few things were put out there, and you mentioned litigation. And I'll just tell you that we do not speak about those topics in public. Those are confidential topics, but I felt compelled to say that. And in terms of, positioning myself and Chair Fleury as supporting misogyny, I would simply say that, I completely disagree with you. And I would also say that and everyone in the system, the board, the governor, all of our constituents, if there is ever any even inkling that there is impropriety in the space of mistreatment of any of our employees, it is something that I would personally look to ensure that we investigate thoroughly, fairly, with concrete evidence, and come to an appropriate solution with the appropriate resolutions. And that is something, equity and fairness and social justice is something that resonates deeply within me personally and professionally. So I vow to all of you that that is something that will never happen under my watch, ever. And so I'm more than happy to have a conversation with Dr. Japley or anyone on that matter, whether that was personal or in public. When I do begin my visits to campuses, I will answer any question from any staff member, any faculty member. 100% transparency for what we can speak about in public, and I really, really look forward to that. So let me conclude there. I know we've run long. I appreciate the time. Thank you, Chairman.
All right. Thank you, President Cheng. And thank you all for your continued time today. I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
So moved.
And a
Second.
second. Are there any changes to the minutes? All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed or abstaining? All right, so the minutes are approved. We have a consent agenda. Let me ask for a motion and a second on that.
I so moved.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Any discussion, questions at this stage? No. Okay. All in favor on the consent agenda? Aye.
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 Any opposed or abstaining? All right, the consent agenda is approved. I believe Regent Ryan wanted to remark on one item therein. And you are muted. My friend Regent Ryan, we're not hearing you.
Yeah, I'm
There you
sorry.
are. Got
I'm
it.
unmuted now. Thank you. This is with regard to the gift to Northwest Connecticut Community College. The college is very grateful to the late Wendy Begansky for her very generous bequests to the college in memory of her husband. Ronald Begansky was the former chair of Northwest Connecticut Community Bank and a great supporter of the college. The bequest came to the college and now needs to be transferred to the foundation so that it can be invested for the purpose of creating student scholarships and program support into the newly named scholarship memorializing both Wendy and Ronald. And these scholarships will go exclusively to support the students of Northwest Connecticut Community College. Thank you.
Thank you. That is a wonderful, wonderful act indeed. Okay, we'll move to our standing committee reports, academic and student affairs. Regent Harris.
I will have no report today, considering the time, and you have approved everything that was on our agenda. You approved those on consent, so I thank you.
All right. Well, and we thank you as well. And we really have one other committee with a report and indeed an action item. That is the Finance and Infrastructure Committee. Mr. Chairman, there he is. Oh, yes, you're in the conference room. Regent Balducci. That room is muted, so we're not hearing you right now.
How about now, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, we hear you. Thank you. Just make
Thank
sure
you,
you're
Mr.
close to the
Chairman.
mic.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee met on Wednesday, the 15th, and it included 4 action items and 3 discussion items. The committee approved, as I just said, those items, and introduced, the first major item we took up was introduced by President Chang and strongly supported by the university presidents, the college CEOs, and members of the board, which was to raise salaries for management and confidential employees. The percentage of raises are as follows: 5% for employees earning up to $120,000, 4% for those employees between $120,000 and $170,000, and 3% for those $170,000 and above. The Finance Committee discussed the raises and strongly considered the fact that these men and women, approximately 310 of them, depend on the Board of Regents for their pay increases. They are not represented by any unions, and they depend on us to do the right thing when necessary. The raises take effect July 1 of this year and will cost approximately $1.5 million. Mr. Chairman, I move adoption of the resolution.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I see we have a motion by the chair and then a second from Regent Ryan. Discussion, questions?
I do have a brief comment, if I may.
Yes.
I was much impressed by President Chang's presentation at the Finance Committee meeting. And he indicated very clearly that a message was being sent to the managers and others who had worked during the COVID-19 pandemic on behalf of the Board of Regents, the Connecticut State Colleges and Universities. And I would only hope, because we were talking about collective agreements earlier, and without going into any details, I would only hope that we would also wish to send the same sort of message to the faculty and the staff who also have worked under extremely difficult circumstances during the COVID-19. So my message is really one of consistency of message, and I'll stop there.
Thank you, Dr. Blitz. I'll just take the opportunity of the moment, inspired by Professor Blitz, to say what has been said on numerous occasions, that the efforts through the pandemic on behalf of every party in the system have been necessary and have been valued and continue to be to get us where we are. Certainly, we're taking this action today because this is separate and apart from the contract-driven increases that will be negotiated. So that's why this doesn't all happen in one neat package, because we have 80% plus of the workforce that will await the resolution of the contract before announcements such as this. And notably, as I understand it, our management confidential employees have in many cases not enjoyed some of the scheduled increases that our represented employees have over the years. And I just wanted to applaud Regent Balducci and the Finance Committee and the management team for, I think, a really nice feature of this approach, which I know you thought very carefully about, which is the progressive nature of the increases, which favor on a percentage basis those at the lower, relatively lower end of the spectrum. So you have my appreciation for that. May I call a vote on this one at this point? All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed or abstaining? Okay, so the motion is carried and does come with it, bring with it the appreciation of the board for all of the good work. Okay, that actually concludes the committee reports and actions. Unless you had anything else, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, I see your hand up, and I'm realizing I may have skipped over something additional you had. Regent Balducci, anything additional?
Regent Balducci, apparently you're muted again.
It's the WebEx
monitor
is muted. Yeah.
Yeah, the monitor flipped.
I'm sure that lots of people want me muted, but I do need to make a couple of additional comments.
Yes.
In addition to the committee approving the item we just on the wage increases, there were 3 consent items, one of which Regent Ryan spoke to, and those were gifts to Northwestern, combination gift to Tungsten as Nuntuck, and a gift to Gateway Community College. So with that concludes the action items, Mr. Chairman. I would like to move along quickly, but with a couple of important comments dealing with the future as to where we go. Ben, who is our CFO, as we all know, reported that the fiscal implications of lower, quote, or lower than budgeted, unquote, enrollment in both the universities and the colleges is at this time not good. Based on data from 2 weeks before the census, the approximate negative impact is about $32 million, $18 million at the universities, not only for tuition, but also for room and board, and $14 million at the colleges. Also at risk is the cost of COVID testing expenses for 2022, which could cost another additional $4 million, and also additional $5 million at the universities for retirement payouts for a total of about $40 million. There are preliminary numbers, and the system office will be looking forward to looking at those revisions in the October meeting. But Ben wanted to make sure we had a little bit of background as to those at the present time. These revisions will likely include reallocation of the federal HERF dollars in the colleges, use of surpluses in the university, resulting in increased state assistance from fringe benefits, and various spending cuts, which nobody likes to hear about, that are now being identified by the individual campuses. The report included the fact that the budget, as adopted, includes over $90 million of one-time federal assistance. And that's the key, and everybody needs to understand that term. One-shot dollars is what it's called. They aren't going to be there after 2023. Budget revisions could push this over $100 million, which will create a major budget cliff in fiscal year 2023. Ben's always optimistic, and when he reports in October, I'm sure he wants to be able to give us better numbers. It would be nice to see something positive. I would just like once to be able to say we have extra dollars, no tuition increases, programs that are necessary to be taken care of, we'll move on. But I haven't been able to do that in any of the years I've been here, but God, I love this job. Finally, the information items included had to review with the semi-annual report, which was pretty much unchanged, and the recent comments made by the executive committee, or vote by the executive committee on the gateway issue, which was taken up because of a time factor and moved to the consent item, which we've already spoken to. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you. You've given us a lot to look forward to. Appreciate your heavy lifting there with our CFO, Ben Barnes, and the team. And, you know, we will find a way through it. We absolutely. So thank you. I want to show the call for a motion to move to executive session, but I need to state that the board in executive session will be discussing collective bargaining. No votes, of course, will be taken during that session. Additionally, there will be no discussion, action, or votes by the board following the executive session. The only action following this session will be a declaration of adjournment. And I will be here for the duration to assure that that ceremonially happens. We have, I think, we certainly need President Chang to stay with us, Dr. Pritchard, Dr. Gates, Councilor Weaver, Andy Kripp, and Ben Barnes, as well as Councilor Roy from Shipman and Goodwin, who were asked to join the regents for the executive session. So let me call for a motion to move to executive session for the purpose I've described.
So moved.
So moved.
Second. All right, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed or abstaining? All right, thank you. Thank you all. Are we, Pam, give us the mechanics here.
Okay, let me stop the live stream and make sure everyone else is off the call with you, and then you'll be able to hold on, please.